We return you now to your regularly scheduled program.
When your camera is made by Kodak, you know it's good.
Tonight, I'd like to show you one of the world's great cameras.
Tonight, I'd like to show you a new idea in picture taking.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up.
I see the picture in my mind's eye, and I give it to you as the equivalent of what I saw and felt.
We choose to go to the moon.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We will never forget that we are analog human beings.
My job is to be authentic.
We all love stories. We're born for them.
Coming to you live from Stratobox Studios in Manila, Philippines.
Hey guys, welcome back to Film Factor Podcast. My name is Franz, and tonight we are back with Born in Film on Air. Again, we're a live simulcast on Facebook Live, IGTV, and YouTube. So for fans who are here, happy Saturday. Yes, you heard it right. Born in Film on Air will now be airing live every Saturday. So invite your friends over by sharing this live video now. The hotline is now up. Don't forget to ring us on Viber at 63921-408-8898 or just simply scan this QR code. Again, that's 63921-408-8898. Yeah. We'll be accepting questions and greetings for our guests later. Also, we have a new feature tonight, which is the live polls, where you can actually vote live on the podcast. The question for tonight is, do you prefer Lightroom over Photoshop? Again, all you need to do is scan this QR code and it will redirect you or bring you to the site. Again, we would like to thank each of you for being a huge part of this passionate community. We now have 9,000 members across 101 countries. We are now on our way to our next goal, which is 10,000 members worldwide. We are just 1,000 away. So again, if you have any friends that you'd like to invite over to Photo Nation, just send them the link and we will accept each and every one of them. Not too long ago, began a series of live podcasts within Photo Nation. The very first one we aired on April 5, where we talked about the importance of printing with Alvin Lee. From there, we met photographers like Australian marine life photographer Darren Ju from the Tales by Light series on Netflix, and Nicola Kostek, a passionate photographer from Belgrade, Serbia. We jumped from landscape photography with Fitz Bore to the life of expat photographers with Arnold Apostol in Singapore. We also talked about women and their photography with Alex Songkal, a Filipino photojournalist, Imbal Christina, concept photographer from Israel, and Tran Hong Yang, a Vietnamese nude photographer. All of these episodes can be seen on both our YouTube and Facebook page. They're also on Spotify. Just search for Film Factor Podcast. New episodes are updated every Monday afternoon. That's Philippine time. In East Coast, West Coast, US time, as well as afternoon European time. If you missed an episode, do check them out. Later, we have replays every Monday. Post-processing a photograph or an image roots down to the late 1800s when photography was at its infancy. There won't be an image if you won't process it right after you've taken it through methods of developing inside a darkroom. The procedure may have changed across generations, but the method stays the same to produce an image. Now, there may be biases when it comes to colors you blend, but those personal biases bring out your own photographic style. To make it simple, Lightroom simply just gives you that. Tonight, we are joined by some of the Philippines' best photographers to talk about Lightroom, how it differs from Photoshop, and the future of post-processing. But before that, let's all watch this.
Portrait
to greet this gathering of motion picture engineers.
Art is photography, sharing, taking what you see and sharing it with others.
Don't be afraid. Get out there, shoot some film.
I think Photo Nation can be a catalyst.
Photography is denied.
Again, we're live simulcast on Facebook Live, IGTV, and YouTube. Don't forget to follow the page, join Photo Nation, and hit subscribe. Joining us tonight are Mac Omega, a photographer who's in Ormoc, Leyte. He shoots wildlife, street landscape, and sceneries, together with Ken Guevara, a member of Born and Film team, who is a landscape and sports photographer based in Las Piñas City. And last but definitely not the least, we have Takara Fermanejo, an aspiring photographer and filmmaker based in Japan. Tara! Good evening, everyone! Ayan. Magandang gabi! Ayan. I think naka-mute lang. Pa-unmute lang, please. Ayan, para marinig nila kayo. Ayan. Can you hear us? Hello?
Good evening!
Ayan. Good evening!
Hello.
Ayan. Again, we have Mac,
Hello.
we have Ken, and Takara with us tonight. And di ko na papahabain. I'll go straight to the first question. Maybe you can introduce yourself, what you do, where you're based, and if you can describe Lightroom into one word, ano siya? Go ahead. Maybe we can begin with Takara.
Hello guys, my name is Takara Fermanejo. I'm a filmmaker and photographer based here in Japan. And I'm grade 12 student po, and also I'm 18 years old aspiring artist. Kung i-describe ko ang Lightroom sa isang salita, para sa akin, yun ay yung art. And why? Kasi dun mo mailalabas yung output and yung creativity mo. It comes to color grading process sa Lightroom. Ayun.
Ayan, very essential talaga siya, lalo na sa ginagawa ni Takara. And I know, di ba, Takara, you also do filmmaking. Later, we'll try to see some of the works from Takara. Maybe we can go ahead now with Ken Guevara. Ken, maybe you can introduce yourself. Go ahead, please.
Hello, good evening. I'm Ken Guevara. I'm based in Las Piñas, Metro Manila, but I'm currently at Webzine right now because of work. I'm a geologist by profession. And ayun, if I can summarize Lightroom in one word, it could be fundamental, because Lightroom actually is where you do your basic coloring or basic adjustments in your image. So before you edit your photo in Photoshop maybe, or just you want to do basic edits, you just do it in Lightroom. Yeah, that's it.
Very well said. And last, let's go to Mac. Go ahead, Mac, who's in Ormoc, Leyte. Go ahead.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Mac Omega. I'm currently in Ormoc City, although I'm actually based in Quezon City in Manila, so I'm just here for the holiday. I am an engineer by profession, and photography is my hobby. It's also my stress reliever from work. I enjoy taking landscape photos. So during sunset, sunrise, and even night photography, astrophotography. So I like all of that stuff. I also do street photography to document people's life on the street. And recently, I've been enjoying birds photography. I mean, to photograph birds that are endemic in the Philippines. That's what I enjoy recently. And if I have to describe Lightroom in one word, I don't have one word, but probably two words. It's a simple Photoshop, because it's a post processing device, but it's a simple
More simple
version of Photoshop.
Yun, very well said from our guests tonight. And ito naman, I know masyadong kumbaga medyo controversial siya. And we also added this to the poll tonight. Again, for the viewers, you can vote live on the polls para we know what you feel and what you can say. Babato ko lang sa guest natin tonight. Ano ba talaga yung difference ng Photoshop and Lightroom? Yan. So maybe we can begin siguro with Ken. Ken Guevara, go ahead please.
Basically, Lightroom is a very, very basic post-processing tool. Like what Sir Max said, it's somewhat like a baby Photoshop. So what you have in Lightroom, you also have in Photoshop, but you have more advanced tools in Photoshop that you don't have in Lightroom. Yun lang.
Oh, sweet and simple. Mac, ikaw, ano masasabi mo? Ano ba ang diferensya ng Photoshop at Lightroom? Go ahead.
For me, I think I'm really not very familiar with Photoshop. I'm sorry, so I can only infer on what I think I know about Photoshop. I think the biggest difference, I guess, is that Lightroom is very easy to use. It's ideal for people who just want their photo edited in the most simple manner. For me, I once attended a workshop on Photoshop, and I just got lost in the middle of the workshop. So for me, it's too complicated. There are so many things that's in there that you just have to. One really has to study first, and so that you can be able to master the Photoshop.
Right. Oo. And I agree. And kasi nga there are kumbaga most graphic artists who are also photographers prefer Photoshop kasi it makes their workflow simple. Pero yun nga, if you like Mac, he joins photo contest, and 'di ba Mac, tama, yung global editing mas preferred nyo when you join. Yan, sige, maybe you can enlighten us. Sige, go ahead Mac. Maybe you can explain about the global editing.
Yeah, we with regards to global editing, you just have to adjust the shadows, highlights, and
very
brightness. That's all. But with Photoshop, there's a lot of things that you can do. That's why it's simple that you just use the Lightroom compared to the Photoshop.
Right. And medyo medyo masi-safeguard yung photos kasi nga there are limits what you can do in Lightroom with compared to Photoshop. And eto na, maybe we can go ahead with Takara. Takara, what can you say about this?
Para sa akin, ang Photoshop ay pang heavy and advanced post-processing. And ang Lightroom naman sa akin ay pang batch editing or standard post-processing. I mean, pang mabilisan ba? Ganun.
Yun. So, yun. Para doon sa mga viewers who are new or who'd like to venture into Lightroom, yun ang difference niya. And siguro punta naman tayo sa kasi I know presets are a big deal, lalo na sa communities today. And in worst cases, people even fight for it. Why do you think there's a big following among photographers in Lightroom related groups, lalo na kapag na-involved na yung mga presets? Ano ba talaga yung presets na yan? Maybe we can hear from Ken. Go ahead, please.
Ayun, based from my experiences in other Lightroom groups, presets are your one click edit. So parang you use that preset to sort of lay on your what do you call this, your coloring of your idol photographer, or just to make a very, 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 very quick edit. if you were sort of into the mobile photography kind of thing. But with regards to the issues, I think it's because other Lightroom preset creators make an issue on, okay, you have this similar color grading to this other preset. Yeah, so if they see that, it is say, okay, that's my color grading. Hindi yan sa'yo, akin yan. So, yun. Yun lang.
So when it comes to ownership, ayan. So maybe we can hear from Mac naman. 'Di ba Mac, there are some cases na they even sell presets and minsan may kamahalan din siya. So maybe you can enlighten us. Ano ba meron dito sa mga presets na to? Go ahead.
Well, like Ken said, preset is some sort of combination of all the what's in the Lightroom. Parang nakaset na siya na yung brightness high or yung highlights. So it's a combination, and it's just one. If you have one preset and if you click that one, then whatever editing will be applied to that photo. So for me, with regards to preset, I use presets all the time, especially for portraits and group photos. So sometimes I get clients, and I take photos of their birthday, prenup, or wedding, and the presets is very, very handy because we just did, and after that, you just have to tweak a little bit if the brightness or highlights and shadows are not enough. So you just have to tweak a little, but it's the presets. It makes your life easier. Okay, so you don't have to start from scratch when you edit the photo. I guess the problem right now with preset is that for me, I would like to mention orange and teal. For me, sometimes it's not applicable to all photos. Sometimes it could be nice,
right?
But most of the time, it doesn't look natural to me, and it becomes problematic if you submit it to websites for their use. Example, you submit to GMA or ABS-CBN, and then they have the preset. I will tell you that most people will negatively react to that.
Right. So, ayun pala siya. And also, just to add, ito nga there's a boundary between creativity and reality. Later on, we'll discuss more, lalo na when we dive into solo interviews. And again, if you have any questions, just type them down the comment section. We will read them to our guests. We have actually a comment here from Grace Shoson. She says, Lightroom is just a developed version of Camera Raw. It's a raw conversion and batch post-processing. So it makes it easier, kumbaga. Takara, ikaw, what can you say about this? Ano bang meron dito sa mga preset na to? And ikaw ba, gumagamit ka rin ba ng preset?
Sa akin po hindi naman po sa akin big deal yung preset. Kasi more on po ako more on manual editing po talaga ako. Siguro nung nag-start ako, gumagamit ako ng preset. Yung nag-edit pa lang ako, nangangapa pa lang ako dati. So ngayon sa akin, mas maganda na yung matutunan mo siya ng manually edit kasi mas tawag dito. Mas doon mo makikita yung creativity mo in terms of color grading. Ayun po.
Oo, lalo na if you also do filmmaking din kasi. So, kumbaga, you're more inclined sa moods when it comes to color. Later on, we'll discuss more on that. And ito naman, kailan mo naman masasabi na over-process yung image? When do you draw the line? Ito nga, yung between reality and creativity. Ito, sige Ken, sige Takara, since you're here. Go ahead.
Sa akin naman, pag tawag dito, ano ba? Over process. Okay. Sa akin pag makikita mo naman yung overprocess sa isang image kapag yung dun ka sa point na parang okay na yung image na ganito, parang okay ka na dun, pero parang sa feeling mo na hindi ka pa satisfied dun sa gawa mo. Parang gusto mo pang i-edit hanggang sa ma-perfect mo. Pero yun nga, hindi naman tayo perfecto. And yun. So, ma-realize mo siya sa huli na, ayun, ba't parang nagiging pangit. So, babalik ka ulit sa dati parang uulit ka ulit. Ganun.
Kumbaga yung tipong masasabi mo rin kasi sa sarili mo, di ba? Ay, teka muna, medyo OA na yung pagka-edit. Di ba, na over na. Ken, go ahead please. Go muna.
I would say the same as Takara.
Go ahead, Ken.
I would say the same as Takara. When you feel that your photo isn't gonna be perfect enough, parang gusto mo na siyang i-edit to the point na paikot-ikot na lang, you're just repeating yourself. Your effort is going to nothing, basically nothing. And you just reset your editing. So it's like, okay, I feel that the process is getting a bit OA na. So yun.
Okay. Mac?
Well, like I said, if it looks HDR-ish, high dynamic range, the colors are too saturated. Okay? So I'm guilty of that before.
Go ahead.
But now I don't want to do that anymore. So if it's colors are saturated, then I tone it down, and its sharpness also tone it down. Regards to the question, when do you draw the line between reality and creativity? It's difficult to say, but probably.
Go ahead.
If you're trying to be creative with your photo, make sure that it's believable.
Right.
I do not recommend to create something that it's most impossible to happen. For example, if you're trying to compose it cityscape and stars, probably. So, okay, maybe people can imagine about that. But if you put cityscape and then you put a composite of aurora borealis, then that's quite impossible to happen, right?
Right.
So for me, do not do that.
Okay. And ito na. How do you see it play in the coming years? Siguro 10 years from now, ano nakikita nyo sa post-processing ng mga tao? Do you think or see na mas magiging maganda siya in terms of being able to be creative? Or, yan, sige, what can you say about it? Siguro we can begin with Ken. Go ahead, Ken.
Ayun, I see post-processing be a bit artificial intelligence, AI na. Because as technologies evolve, there's this thing called machine learning that can assist us in creating the perfect edit for the photo. Ayun, it would make our lives easier, editing multiple photos with the AI, or I don't know if there's some technology in 10 years time that would exceed such technology. So, ayun, yun lang.
It improves kasi over time, diba? Lalo na si Photoshop. Actually, last week we talked about Photoshop with some of the photographers who are also friends with you guys. And yun nga, sabi nila, AI is actually a big deal, lalo na when it comes to... Actually, hindi na nga siya big deal kasi it's happening now. Maybe in the coming years, mas mag-i-improve pa siya. Maybe you can hear from Takara. Ikaw, Takara, what do you see in the coming, siguro, 10 years from now?
Ayun nga, yung sabi din ni Kuya Ken na AI nga daw. Ayun. So, para sa akin, para mapapabilis yung pag-process mo ng photo or yung pag-edit mo ng photo kasi meron ng AI. Pero sa akin, mas okay pa din yung ikaw mismo talaga yung gagawa eh. Kasi para mas mag-improve ka pa after mga ilang years coming, ganun. So, mas maganda yung mismong ikaw talaga para mas maano mo pa yung gusto mong makuha dun sa photo na ayun.
Oo, tama. Kumbaga, mas mamahalin mo kasing ginagawa mo pag pinaghihirapan mo siya, di ba? Tsaka, pag talagang ikaw yung gumagawa. Ikaw naman, Mac, what can you say? Go ahead, please.
Well, I think basic processing should still be the same, but I guess with just more features added. Example sa Lightroom, I don't know what kind of improvement that they will make, that we will offer, but I'm always amazed by the things that they have done throughout the years, because I've been using Lightroom since 2013, and every year they keep on updating and improving, and this year I think they have added some features that are for me very, very useful. So I guess more added options, and I guess AI na rin in 10 years, but both post-processing should still be the same, the highlights, shadows, still the same.
Yun. And actually, speaking of editing, ito na, meron tayong binigay na challenge actually sa mga guests natin. Kagabi, we gave them, ang ating mga guests, a challenge. We've sent them a photo that I took in Paris. This is a photo I took that is actually one of the most recognizable intersections in Paris. It was shot from a balcony of the Palais de Garnier theater in Paris. And I shot this with post-processing in mind, and kaya medyo underexposed and neutral. Let's now look kung ano yung, tingnan naman natin kung ano yung ginawa ng mga guests natin. And ito, please explain na lang later when we show your work. Siguro we can, ito, pakita ko muna yung photo na kinunan ko. Ito, hold on. There. So this is the photo that I took at the Palais de Garnier Theater in Paris. And ang pinakaunang nag-submit si Mac. Eto, Mac, go ahead. Baka you can talk about this. Ano yung what do you find interesting siguro sa photo, and how did you come up with this type of post-processing? Go ahead, please.
Yeah. Of course, when I saw the photo, it's a long exposure photo during the day, no? And I'd like to make the photo simpler, not a lot of distractions. So first, what I did was that there's this cool feature in Lightroom, which is the guided upright tool. So I assume that when you took that photo, you use a wide angle lens.
Yes.
So there's torsion with regards with the building. So there's in the Lightroom there's an upright tool, so you can straighten out the building. So first I click that, and then the building, if you will check, the buildings are already upright. And then I crop the lower part because there's so many things going on, and it's a distraction. There's a lot of distraction, so I want it to be clean.
Right.
And then after that, I guess I applied the graduated filter in the sky, just a little bit to
bring out the blue,
have the difference between the clouds and the sky.
Right.
to tone down the exposure, and that's it. That's why for me Lightroom is really really easy to use, and for me I think for a photo like this, for a photo when I edit, it usually doesn't take 5 minutes. If it took longer, then for me I just move on to another image.
Oo. Tama. Oo nga, yun nga, I was about to ask you kung gaano katagal. Wow, grabe, ang bilis lang. Ito naman, let's move on to Takara. Ito naman yung gawa ni Takara. Takara, go ahead, please.
Sa akin naman po, ang nakita ko dito sa photo is yun nga, isa siyang long exposure photo. And ang nakita ko dito sa litratong to is yung mood niya. Like, parang mas siya, parang ang bilis ng oras. Parang yung pinapalabas nitong photo is yung parang mabilis yung oras na yung mga nangyayari sa labas. And yun nga, ano ba?
In terms of color, bakit mo napili yung ganyang color?
Yung sa mood po, yung medyo warm tone siya kasi para mas bumagay dun sa concept ng photo. So parang urban style yung ginawa ko dito sa photo na. Ayun.
Kapag may go ahead.
And din naman sa sky, nag-brush ako dyan para mas makita yung details ng ulap and yung colors din ng sky. And doon naman sa baba, din sa may street, nag-brush din ako dyan para mas makita yung details ng mga tao and also yung sasakyan din. Ayun.
Oo, kasi medyo underexposed kasi yung photo. Ayan, actually dami nag-agree. Ayan, yung mga friends mo nag-like sila. Let's move on to Ken naman. Ayan.
The one that I edited, first things first, same as the two previous photographers, they said this long exposure, so it illustrates the passing of time. So, I made it so na hindi siya magko-compromise masyado hindi siya yung color niya magpa-pop onte, pero parang the feeling of the long exposure is still there. So in-enhance ko yung clouds, in-enhance ko a bit yung itong street, the one with the cars. And I didn't do much do sa right side, though napansin ko yung ibang parts nung photo has a bit of dust spots, so nilinis ko na din siya with the spot removal tool. And yun nga, I did a bit of the what do you call this, the graduated filter tool. And ayun, di ko naman siya masyadong ginalaw since the photo is almost as good as it is, except the underexposed nga siya. So I also did a bit of cropping and rotating, like what Sir Max said, the guided upright tool. So yun. Pero I retain a bit of the underexposure kasi parang gusto ko yung medyo pahapon na siya, almost golden hour light. So yun.
Ganda. Again, we'd like to thank our guests for accommodating the challenge we have for them. Actually, we have some responses from our viewers before we head on over to our second segment. Basahin ko lang mabilis. We have one from Candy Garcia Pagalilawan. She says, manual edit is the best rather than presets. And si RC Rosales from Cebu says, ako, I have never bought a preset ever. I have my own and it's black and white. Di ako magaling mag-color. Si Tita Julie, who's also watching with us tonight, sabi niya, kapag hindi proportion ng image, example, models sa brochures. Ayan. So, she's giving examples. Grace Yoson says, for beginners, the best way is to know, I think. And less is always more when it comes to post-processing, sabi ni Grace. And Kat Villarreal, also watching with us, agrees. And ito, may dinagdag si Candy Grace. Sabi niya, when you're not satisfied on your first work, color grading, you can do different versions, so you can choose what to apply, what's best, or that best suits your image. Sabi ni Grace, ito may comment siya about the AI. Sabi niya, hold on. May comment si Grace about the AI. Sabi niya, AI can't replace photo retouchers, period. Yun. Tapos sabi niya, post-processing includes art. AI can't subject art, period. Wow. Medyo ano siya. Yan. Si Kat, actually may sinabi siya. Sabi niya, guilty of over post-processing when I was starting out. Guilty of hoarding presets. Over time, I realized presets can be very limiting. I'd rather color grade manually. Actually, puro reaction sila. So I guess they love your responses. And with that, thank you for your wonderful insights regarding Lightroom. Please stay. We have the one-on-ones after this para we can get to know more about our photographers after this short break.
We are a proud generation of visual storytellers, young and old alike, across all gender, beyond ethnicity, thriving in an online community. Built in the Philippines for the world. From the streets of Intramuros to the ringing bells of Chalon-sur-Saône, atop the great mountains of the Himalayas to the deeps of the Great Barrier Reef. Across Asia, Europe, Oceania, Africa, and the Americas, we will tell stories. We are Photo Nation, and the passion will live on.
One of the things that makes anything more enjoyable is being able to share it and being part of a community.
And quite frankly, what I get from Photo Nation is the fact that it's so non-judgmental.
They're so accepting of people, and I like that about Photo Nation, that people are willing to do that.
Photo Nation is hindi lang siya Filipino-based international group. Ano siya, one big happy family talaga siya.
Photo Nation is just one huge family.
I think probably the thing I like the most about Photo Nation is the fact that it's a supportive community, not there to score points.
Photo Nation, a platform that has no bashing.
It's you ask for help, you get help. The best part about Photo Nation is that everyone gets a chance to showcase their stuff. And if you ask, how did you get that? Can you teach me? The people respond and they're like, yeah, I'm actually learning things here.
We all started as a beginner, whether it's your self-taught or you learn from masters or you learn from YouTube. We should be humble enough to know and to accept that people who are willing to learn, we have to appreciate that because it's actually promoting the hobby or the passion that we love, which is photography.
Malaki talaga yung impact sa pag-i-improve ko as a photographer kasi hindi lang basics yung tinuturo, parang yung advanced stuff na.
I'm always welcome na idea na magkaroon ng isang community ang mga photographer. Yung imbis na magbangayan, nagtutulungan.
It feels really nice to be part of Photo Nation because of how active the group is. A lot of inspiration for me to take in.
Ako in-expect na ganito yung welcome ng Photo Nation sa akin.
Napagsama-sama ng Photo Nation ang mga photographer, anuman ang lahi nila.
I've met a lot of people from different regions sa country natin. Mas na-widen yung network ko.
Masaya kasi nakakapag-share ka ng free.
Yun na mas manada oportunidad. Kasi health chances na mas kada grande din yung thinking about things na noy aki na kalya ko nila.
Feel like I'm with a family that supports what I love and what I'm passionate about. Mararamdaman mo na may value yung gawa mo and mas nakikita mo na there is an opportunity for you to grow in this industry.
I joined Facebook a year ago, and you are the first group I joined. It's one big international family. It's great to be part of Photo Nation International.
Aside from the photography memes, pinakagusto na ako sa Photo Nation is activities like Photographer of the Week and sa mga Theme of the Week.
I was really happy to be featured as the Photographer of the Week. It really helps and boosts me.
One of the things I like about Photo Nation is the fact that it's not limited by any demographic, by any location, or by year.
Tuwang-tuwa ako kung siyempre first time ko maging part ng isang member na may malaking community. Maganda experience ko.
Nakita na ko na daghang mga parehas na kong edad ang misulay og photography diri sa mo sa Bacolod.
Nakatabang siya ka mo-grow ko as a photographer. Maka-inspire siya sa mga kasama ko na bagungan pa. Pag-join ako aning Photo Nation kay at first kay nakulbaan ko ato kay international siya.
Pag-ayat ko ken to Photo Nation ken dagiti na dumaduma nga aktibidades kay Binobingo kas kuma dagiti pasalit nga paka-recognizean dagiti kas kanyak nga adadamo si fotografiya.
Người ta thường hay nói rằng là khi mà bạn muốn đi thật là nhanh thì bạn đi một mình, nhưng mà khi mà bạn muốn đi xa thì bạn sẽ đi cùng với cả những người khác. Thành ra là khi mà tham gia vào những cái group chơi ảnh như là Photo Nation thì giúp mình sẽ nhìn được thấy rất là nhiều bức ảnh đẹp, và qua đó thì và cũng được gặp rất nhiều là photographer giỏi. Thế thành ra là qua đó mình cũng được truyền cảm hứng hơn.
Kaso pala kung mag-join ka ng community, kuning mana kung bakal inspiration.
Yung first impression ko sa Photo Nation, walang toxic sa group. Parang dito sa Photo Nation nakaka-proud kasi parang nabibigyan ng voice yung mga Pilipino.
I think Photo Nation is there. It's kind of feel like home. Alam mong this group will help you grow.
Sobrang ganda ng podcast quality. Yun yung magagawa ng Pinoy. So nakaka-proud din.
Nagulat din po ako lalo kasi almost around the world kasali ko. Parang ang laki pong privilege sa akin na sa Philippines po nag-start ng Photo Nation.
Pinoy pride kasi nga, di ba? Doon yung group is sa Pilipinas. So parang kaya natin makisabay at maliit tayong bansa.
I think Photo Nation parang for me, yung always active na ako.
Swerte gid ko kay naging part ko sa grupo niya. Hindi gid malimtan ang opportunity kag hindi ko gid pagsayawan.
Marami akong natutunan lalo yung sa masterclass.
Photo Nation expanded my global knowledge, especially regarding Filipino photography. The Philippines seems to be pretty excited and actively pursuing the craft.
Feeling ko na welcome ka talaga kasi may mga toxic na mga tao. Nakakaugmat na nakaka-inspire sinda ng mga picture ninda na pinatawat, pinapairing sa mga bawat saro.
That worldwide photo walk, my gosh, I was surprised that many people showed up and it brought tears to my eyes. It was brilliant. There's so much love. I think that's the best way to say it. There's so much love in this community.
The truth is, this is merely a setback. This is merely one huge mountain that we have to traverse.
Again, we're live simulcast on Facebook Live, Instagram, and YouTube. So again, we are back. So let's start with our first guest. First on the lineup is Mac Omega, a photographer who's in Ormoc, Leyte. He shoots wildlife, street and landscape, and also sceneries. Mac has been into photography for 9 years and has been a Nikon guy since. He says that photography brings joy to him whenever he shoots. It serves as his stress reliever from work. For him, Lightroom is the editing tool fit for his workflow. He joins photo contests that require global editing, and using Lightroom is a big advantage for him. Ito na, let's welcome back Mac. Mac, welcome back.
Hello?
Yan. Hold on. Yan, welcome back. So Mac, ito na. I'll just dive into the first question. We've seen your works and basically, you're an outdoor person, ika nga. Papaano nabago nitong pandemic yung the type of photography that you do? How has this pandemic changed it? Go ahead.
Well, of course, at first it was difficult because especially we don't know about this virus and everyone seems panicking. So also me, I'm afraid to go out of my house. But however, as time goes by, when things are getting back to the normal or what you call new normal,
right.
I learned to adapt. Okay, so I still go out and shoot, but now with safety precautions. I wear masks all the time, and if I also don't go to crowded places. Right. So when I shoot, usually I don't have much people around me, and also if I do go to crowded places, then I use the face shield and face mask, and as much as possible I don't stay longer. And if it's crowded place, then probably I want it in an open air area, not enclosed. So those kind of stuff that I still do photography, but with safety precautions.
Yun. That's very important, especially since this pandemic. Kumbaga medyo mahirap yung kalaban natin kasi hindi mo nakikita, di ba? So,
yeah.
Oo. Ito naman, Mac, I know you mentioned earlier that Lightroom is simple for you compared to Photoshop. Maybe you, what can Lightroom offer you that Photoshop can't, aside from that? Aside from being simple.
Okay. Okay. Let me talk it this way. Because, like I said before, with regards to Lightroom and Photoshop, Photoshop, it's limitless.
Right.
Okay. Whatever you imagine, you can do anything. You can do magic with your photo. You can put rainbow. You can put anything on your photo, and you can claim it as your art. However, in Lightroom, it doesn't offer all. There's limitation.
Right.
Okay. So I know that Photoshop can offer more than Lightroom. So what can I do if there's a limit with regards to Lightroom?
Right.
So it is the photographer who must adjust to the situation. So for example, in Photoshop, I know that you can replace the sky with as much as colorful as you the sky that you got from the other day, because it was a nice sky yesterday. So you can replace that to your photo now. But in Lightroom, you can't do that. So maghintay ka talaga ng hanggang mag-sunset. And at the same time, example, kung astrophotography din, sa Photoshop, pwede mong i-composite yung mga Milky Way eh.
Right.
But if in Lightroom, you can't do that. So you have to really stay out at night para so you can have that the sky, the night sky. And also another example is I guess creative or yung panning, yung blur.
Right.
In Photoshop you can do that. But in Lightroom you can't. So it is the photographer who must adjust to the situation. So dun ka pa lang sa when you taking the picture pa lang, dun nagpapaning ka na. Of course it's trial and error.
Right.
But but once you practice, then you can get all that already. Makukuha mo rin yung paano yung panning.
Right.
So it's not like what Lightroom can offer. It's the
limitations
it's
itself.
because of its limitations. Yung photographer mas nag-improve.
Right.
Okay? Kasi sa Photoshop kasi, I see some photographers na yun na nga, parang minsan tinatamad na rin na sabihin na nila na
right.
edit ko na lang yan na yung sky later kasi meron naman akong ganito. So, parang yung improvement ba ng skills nila is not as much as if you're using Lightroom. Kasi nga, alam mo may limitations. That's why the photographer must improve and must adjust to that situation.
Ayun. And actually, some of the viewers agree. Sabi ni RC Rosales from Cebu, same kami observation ni Sir Mac. More effort sa labas kung mas comfortable ka sa Lightroom kaysa sa Photoshop. And I agree. Kasi minsan nga itong limitations can be a good thing. Kasi when you're limited, you actually learn and improve kapag limited ka. Same with film photography, di ba? You're limited to possibly 36 shots, di ba? Doon sa 36 shots na yun, kailangan hindi mo sayangin yung film. So, kailangan more or less mga 24 okay na shots, di ba? So, in turn natututo ka as you shoot. Mac, yung next question naman natin will have to deal with ito na yung ano yung if there's this one thing na gusto mong mabago sa Lightroom, what would it be and why?
Actually, I don't have anything to change about Lightroom, no. But I have a wish list for it to improve. Okay.
Go ahead.
So, for me, I would like that some of the features from Photoshop can be imported to Lightroom. For example, I like the content-aware fill in Photoshop because that can be adapted to Lightroom because in Lightroom you already have the spot removal. Yes. So that is like the same, right? So if you can incorporate that one from Photoshop, then that would be nice, no? Like I have nothing to change actually.
Kumbaga, maganda na kasi siya eh. Kumbaga, oo, kumbaga, baka ma-overprocess ang Lightroom. Baka masobra. Anyway, eto, may sagot si Grace Sioson. Sabi niya, si Jonathan Sanchez actually agrees with us. Si Grace Sioson, sabi niya, Lightroom is for raw conversion and for setting the general grading of your photos. Best to batch process para mapagpantay-pantay ang adjustments and color tone ng photos. Also good for exporting layered TIFFs, PSD to flat ones or JPEGs. Oo, yun nga. And ito na Mac, let's now go to your to the photos. Actually, we asked Mac to send us some of the photos that he took. And again, don't forget to follow Mac. His Instagram is at Maki Omega and his Facebook is Maki.Omega on Facebook. Yan. Tapos, ito na Mac, your first photo. Go ahead, please. Maybe you can talk about this.
Yeah. Wait, I cannot see it. Anong photo yan?
Yung the hill, yung green na hill.
Okay. Okay, so that one, the green hill with some 4 people yata, no? In
Yes.
the taas.
Right.
So, that's my first award in photography. So that photo was awarded as top 10 finalist um, in Scott Kelby Worldwide Photo Walk in 2014.
Wow. Mm-mm.
So that is top 10. So it's very, very memorable for me because it's my first award.
Congrats.
And of course, I didn't have to use Photoshop for that. Just Lightroom. Brightness and color and Lightroom lang. Not so much Photoshop.
It reminds me,
Not
Mac.
Photoshop.
Mac, it reminds me of the wallpaper of Windows. Ganda. Mm-mm.
Yeah. Marami din nakapagsabi niyan, no? Parang Windows na daw. Tapos iba rin,
Ganda.
parang yun sa, Teletubbies yata.
Oo.
Ang sasabi nila.
Oo nga. Mm-mm.
Oo.
Ayun. Ganda. Okay. And the next one? Ay, sorry. Your next one. Go ahead. Ito yung trees along the road.
Yeah.
I think this is in UP yata.
Oo. So, that one, so again, it's an award-winning photo na naman.
Wow.
So, that one, I just won it recently in Quezon City photo contest.
Wow, congrats.
So I won first place.
Wow.
And I think I was just awarded, I think last month. This month lang pala. This month lang. I just received the award last
congrats.
week. Oo. So, this one, in this photo contest, I would just like to highlight because, again, this photo contest only requires global editing.
Right.
Because global editing really, it levels the playing field of the photographer. Kasi nga kung if the is anything goes, posibleng maraming idagdag yung iba just to have a very good photo. Example, yung mga light rays na yan, pwede mong gawin na sa ibang software yan, pwede mong pekein. But since it's global editing, kumbaga, by moment talaga, yung chance na makuha mo yung photo na yan, di ba? Parang, it's global editing, konti lang yung mababago mo. You can't do a lot of things, no? Just like in Photoshop. So, yan.
Ganda.
Lightroom.
Oo. Lots of the viewers love it. Ganda daw. Your next one, ito na yung fireworks. Go ahead, please.
Yes. Of course, another winning photo na naman. Sorry.
Go ahead.
So, that one is my entry in SM MOA Fireworks photo contest in 2017.
Ooh.
And it won grand prize.
Wow.
No, so I won Nikon D500 and Nikon 16 to 85 lens for that.
Wow.
So, I would just like to highlight na in this contest, there was no instruction that global editing lang or hindi. So it was walang instruction, but it should be photo of the fireworks. Okay. So with this photo, nandun talaga, sa skills talaga, yung dapat yung timing mo to get all the fireworks, pati yung composition mo rin. So, it's for me, the Lightroom, it was just, like I said kanina, parang konti na lang yung ginawa ko sa Lightroom. So, if the photo is good, parang no amount of Photoshop can can parang pwedeng tumalo dyan, parang ganun.
Very well said. Okay, and then punta naman siguro tayo sa mga behind the scenes para we can get to know more about Mac and the photographers that he works with. Go ahead, Mac. Baka you can talk about this. Sino sila at saan tong mga photos na to? Go ahead.
Okay, so this one, the first one, itong may black, kasama ko si Sir Edwin Tuyay, and kasama ko rin yung mga members ng Manila Avid Photographers Club. By the way, I'm a member of Manila Avid Photographers Club. So we are a photo club based in Manila. So we were doing the Fujifilm photo walk.
Wow.
So ito yung una. So I joined that with these guys. And then itong sa gitna naman, I also shoot mga festivals. So this one is from my hometown, Ormoc City. So we have this festival every June, the Pineapple. Yan. So may may festival din, mayroong street dance and may cultural dance. So yun, kasama ko nag-shoot niyan.
Yung mga nami-miss
natin.
Go ahead.
Pinakahuli, ayun, kasama ko yung ibang mga members ng mga landscape. We were shooting landscape in Pangasinan dyan. So if you will see familiar face, yung nakasalamin, si Fitz. And then si Fitz. So we were shooting in Patar, seascape, and yung mga waterfalls doon. We were shooting landscape.
Yun. And I'll just read some of the responses from our viewers. Wait lang. Hold on. Let me just read some of the responses from our viewers. Sabi ni Grace ulit, Lightroom should catch up to Capture One para matigil na kamahalan ng program na yon. Ikaw ba, Mac? Have you tried Capture One? What can you say? Ako hindi ako familiar with Capture One. Go ahead. Baka you can explain.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Capture One also.
Oo. Ayan,
Lightroom lang talaga.
Oo nga eh. Parang ano kasi, kung ako papapiliin mo, kung siguro kung hindi ako nag-graphic design, mas magla-Lightroom talaga ako kasi yun nga eh. Ang hinahanap ko rin yung tipong simple lang tsaka madaling gamitin. Your top 3 tips para for Lightroom. I think you're on mute, sorry. Naka-mute ka pa, Mac. Yan. Go ahead, Mac.
Okay.
Top 3 tips.
So my top 3, rather than using the vignette tool, I use radial filter to isolate the subject from all the other stuff in the photo. So if it's allowed, because for global editing, hindi yata allowed yung ganun eh. Puro brightness lang. But if you're doing editing ng photo mo lang for Facebook, then you can use radial filter rather than the vignette tool. And then, pangalawa, yung sinabi ko kanina, if you're shooting cityscape and building and architecture, usually if you're using the wide angle lens, so most likely the photo will be distorted, especially if you don't, minsan kasi na slant talaga eh. Although posible naman na maging straight pa rin, depende lang talaga yun sa paggamit mo ng wide angle lens. But it's kung magiging magiging distorted talaga, this one in Lightroom, which is the guided upright tool, so you can straighten out the building that in your photo. And finally, the last feature that I use more often now is the dehaze function. So, if you're shooting during midday, parang merong haze yung photo mo. So, ayun, lagi ko nagagamit talaga siya, yung dehaze function. Depende na lang kung anong mood. Kasi minsan, gusto mo rin na may haze eh. So,
Right.
anyway, in Lightroom, puro slider lang naman. No? Puro slide mo lang naman yun. So, that's the 3 tips that I can share. Kasi, yung iba naman kasi self-explanatory na. Yung sa Lightroom, puro slide lang yun. Slide mo lang yung mga mga functions doon. Yung brightness, highlight, shadows, slide lang.
Ayun. And with that, thank you, Mac, for the insightful suggestions and tips for tonight. Ito, we have another one from Paul Aga. Sabi niya, grabe daw, ang gaganda daw ng mga photos mo. Tapos si si Tita Julie ulit. Sabi niya, beautiful fireworks. Ang ganda raw, angat yung kulay. Tsaka, ayan, sabi ni Jonathan Sanchez, love your photos. Congrats. And si RC Rosales naman, sabi niya, naaalala niya si Sir Ali Reyes doon sa mga fireworks. And yun na, Mac, with that, we'd like to thank you for your time with us tonight. Please stay. Meron pa tayong closing for later after the guests. Salamat. Okay, and ito na. Let's now call our next guest. Hold on. Yun. A landscape and sports photographer who's in Nueva Ecija right now, but he's from Las Piñas. Ken Guevara has been into photography for 8 years, so medyo magkalapit lang sila ni Mac in terms of sa tagal nila sa photography. Armed only with his phone camera, he honed his skill until he was able to buy a DSLR camera in 2016. He says whenever he captures people, objects, events, and places, it gives him a sense of fulfillment. He loves to see the beauty of things in photographs and drives him to further pursue this craft. Ken sees Lightroom fundamental to his workflow. A big part of it is done in Lightroom. Na. And with that, Gov. Gov Ken. Ken, ito na, didiretsion ko na para rekta na tayo. You've been into many groups. Part of those is Photo Nation and Born in Film and the Lightroom groups that you've been to. And you also help manage itong mga grupo na to. How has joining communities helped you pursue photography that you do? Meeting friends and what have you? Go ahead. I think you're on mute, Ken. Okay, go ahead. I think you're on mute. Yan.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Yan. Ayun, joining communities, joining groups, joining Photo Nation, it has 2 benefits for me. One, I have a support system kung na pwedeng tumulong sa akin if I need help, and I can help others as well. 2, I can also improve through sharing my work. Itong mga groups na sinasalihan ko and also Photo Nation, most of them are very, very open and very, what do you call this? Parang engaging na pwedeng entice you to post to improve your work and to sort of enjoy rin habang nag-create ka ng mga photos na gusto mong i-post. So, yun.
Ken, may comment sa'yo si Kathleen. Sabi niya, lahat ata na, all of the groups that she joined, you're part of it. All of the groups that that are related to Lightroom, you're also part of it.
Wow.
So, ayan, you've been around with many groups. If you were, let's now go to Lightroom itself. If you were to include one feature to Lightroom, what would it be and why?
Okay. If I were to make Lightroom more suited for me, and I don't know for others as well, I would like it to have a masking tool or at least a layers tool for me to do composites directly doon sa Lightroom. Para hindi ko na bubuksan kay Photoshop or sa somewhere else. Yun lang.
Tama. And
Para sorry,
Go
just to
ahead,
add.
please.
Para hindi na din magastos sa RAM at alam naman natin Lightroom is also a bit heavy sa ating laptops. Ayun.
Right. Oo, tama. Exactly. Kasi when you have two applications open, it sums up your memory, especially when you use the computer. Ken, in terms of post-processing, let's now go to post-processing or doing the presets, what you do or what you use. When can you say that you're finally happy with the post-processed image? So when do you draw the line that yes, I'm happy with this and I can finally print this photo?
This is a bit hard and kasi subjective siya. Pero for me, all I can say is if it conforms to how I envision my photo, how I envision yung mga shots ko, I guess that would be, I say, enough. Yun lang.
Okay. And ito naman, let's now go to the photos that you've sent us. Let's dive into the photos. Again, for everyone watching, don't forget to follow Ken. His Instagram is at Ken Guevara. And his Facebook is facebook.com/ken.guevara. So you can add Ken. And he's also in PhotoNation. So just join PhotoNation. May ano naman tayo doon. And go ahead, Ken, your first photo.
Okay, my first photo, this was taken in Hong Kong. I remember seeing a similar photo kay Elia Locardi and also a friend of mine, si Vince Tanching. Hi Vince, kung nandito ka, nanonood, hello. Ayun, imbis na, yung mga shots nila I saw was medyo gabi na. And we just came from Disneyland ng araw na yan. And I thought, okay, sakto, di pa naman ganun ka-late. So, why not, takbo kagad kami sa Central. Kami ng brother ko, tumakbo sa Central. And hinanap namin yung mismong place na yan. We were like, shit, naliligaw. Sorry, medyo naliligaw kami dyan sa sa area na pintahan namin. And when we finally found it on Google Maps, parang, okay, ito na yun. Sinet-up ko na yung clamp ko. Hindi ako naka-tripod niyan. Sinet-up ko yung clamp and the camera. And I didn't use filters dyan. Parang, okay, kaya na to for a half-second exposure. I took siguro mga 3 shots and ayan na yun. And post-processing, kinumbine ko lang sila and basic adjustments. Yun lang.
Ganda. Okay, and then moving on to your next photo. I think this is in Manila Bay. Go ahead.
Yep. That's in Harbor Square. Fun fact, nakapaa yung model dyan.
Oo nga, no?
Oo, nakapaa siya dyan. It's quite she was quite brave going out there. Parang sabi ko, sige, if you're G, go lang. Pero I always say, sige, safety first lang. This was also a composite. This is a 1, 2, 3, 4 shot 4-shot composite. Isang bracket na 3 shots and then yung shot with the model na tamang exposure lang. Kinumbine ko lang sila. I know there's an HDR HDR function sa Lightroom. I just used that. And then sinama ko na rin sa Photoshop yung fourth photo. I returned back to Lightroom. Tsaka yan na yun.
Ganda. And what time of day is this? Sunset?
This is sunset.
Ganda. Really golden. Na-capture mo yung golden sunset ng Manila Bay. And ito, your final photo. We know na you're into F1. Maybe you can talk about this.
Fun fact pala again, tonight is qualifying for the Berlin
Wow.
Grand Prix. So, hindi ko na muna, I skipped it tonight talaga because I have this. Pero, tomorrow's the race pa naman eh, so okay lang. This was taken in Singapore, as you can see from the background.
Yeah.
Ang hirap lang sa access niyan kasi you have to have this certain kind of ticket para lang makapunta sa certain areas of the track. And yung area na yan is actually almost it's actually almost beside the Singapore Flyer. So nilakad ko yan from the MRT, and then tumambay lang ako doon sa isang area na yan with this Nikon D850 na nirent ko. And then sige, I took test shots. I took at various shutter speeds. I took panning shots. I took still photos. And this is one of the money shots na nakuha ko. It's a shot with the Red Bull car and with the sparks. Ayan, sa likod, nakikita niyo.
nga eh. Ganda. Ito, may mga comments na pumapasok. Sabi ni Abet, kay Ken lang makikita yung natural na panning. Hindi exaggerated sa edit. Tapos sabi ni Kat, last year ba yan? Last year ba daw to? Tama?
No, this was taken 2018.
2018. 2 years ago.
Yep.
Tita Julie, ito sabi niya, was that through a fence? Mukha nga. Oo.
Yes, Tita Julie, it's through a fence.
And
You
then
can see yung grid dito eh.
Tapos sabi ni RC, vroom vroom. Ayan. And now, let's go to your behind the scenes. Maybe you can talk about the photos that you sent us. Go ahead, please.
Okay, the top photo was taken at a 3-day event sa church. Parang there's this parang kids event sa church namin. I was one of the documentation team, one of the team at the documentation. One of the documentation team, sorry. We were tasked to document the event, take pictures ng mga kids and ng mga goings on do sa stage. And ito yung one of the siesta days. Siesta times pa na ng day.
Parang happy si Ken. Sa photo. Go ahead.
This was a stolen shot ng friend ko nandun doon sa second photo, nandun sa left.
Go ahead.
One of these guys took the photo doon sa taas. This was another event naman, yan sa second photo. Yan yung barkada namin doon sa group na yun. Ito yung barkada namin. Super close kami lahat dyan. And ito yung panahon na wala pang pandemic, namimiss na namin ng mag-picture sa mga events namin dyan. Yun. And then last photo, nandyan na naman ating kaibigan na si IC. Nandun sa guest na last week. This was taken at Batanes. This is a tour/workshop na hinold no March of 2019. It was around 5 days yung yung trip na yan. We are also graced by Mr. Chris Magsino nandun sa far right no. Ayan.
Ayun. And thanks, Ken. Ken, we finally, actually hindi ko na natanong si Mac. Maybe we can come back to him later. Your top 3 tips that people should avoid when using Lightroom. Ano yung mga dapat nilang i-avoid kapag ginagamit nila yung Lightroom? Ken? I think nakamute.
Sorry, akala ko kay Mac tayo.
Sayo.
Okay. Sige. For my top 3 tips, actually hindi siya avoid, but I'm encouraging people to, one, if they're really new as in bagito bakita do sa Lightroom, they should at least try to experiment. Number 2, presets kung kaya nyo sanang hindi na mag-presets, it's much better kasi you would need to develop. It would help develop your style in editing. And last but not the least, you should use the tools in Lightroom to your advantage. Maximize the use of Lightroom before going on to other software. Kasi minsan madami magtatanong sa'yo, paano tong tool na to? Paano tong tool na yan? Na nandun din sa Lightroom pala na hindi nila alam. Like, wow, ganun sila eh. So, yun.
Kumbaga, explore and learn. Di ba? And with that, Ken, thanks for accommodating the question today. I know may inaabangan ka na na qualifying race for the Grand Prix.
Sir.
Oh, so maybe we can catch the replay later. And now, moving on to our next guest or our final guest for tonight. Joining us tonight from Saitama in Japan is an aspiring photographer and filmmaker. Before we head on to that, let's all watch this. Takara Fermanejo creates tutorial videos on YouTube about his editing process in Lightroom. At such a young age, he continues to inspire creatives in dedication to this craft. Takara says Lightroom is a vital factor on improving his skills. Hold on, let me just wait. Okay, Takara, welcome back. Ayan.
Hello po.
Magandang umaga na sa inyo.
Opo.
Oo. So, aside from being a photographer, you're also a filmmaker. Can you enlighten those who are not familiar when it comes to building moods in filmmaking? And how do colors react or how do they affect the viewing experience of the viewers?
Sa akin, sa pagiging filmmaker about, expressing your inner feelings into your film. Sa pamagitan ng filmmaking, na-express ko yung nararamdaman ko at creativity ko sa film. Sa bawat film ay may hidden meaning na pwedeng matuklasan. Ayan. Matuklasan. And yung meaning na yun ay ang magsasabi ng nararamdaman ng gumawa as a creator, ganun. And sa colors naman, yun yung isang way para masabi na natin kung halimbawa sa film gusto mo yung mood na ganito is halimbawa hyper yung isang palabas. So ang need mo na kulay dun is medyo medyo color, parang kagaya sa Sam Colder ganun. And kung nakilala niyo po si Jer Ali, yun po yung isa sa inspiration ko sa filmmaking. Ayun. Which is sobrang kakaiba. And yun din, dagdag ko din as kasi kasi iba-iba kasi ng kulay at them about sa filmmaking. Pwedeng happy or horror, ganun. And medyo hyper nga. Ayun, yung sabi ko nga kanina.
Kumbaga there's a big may malaking hugot ang kulay when it comes to drawing attention, especially for the viewing experience ng viewers. And ito naman, how important is post-processing in your workflow? And do you think magiging masaya ka kapag walang post-processing yung mga litrato mo?
Sa akin naman po, ano, hmm, paano ba? Sa akin, ano, um, hindi ako magiging masaya kapagka wala yung processing sa isang, halimbawa sa photo and vid. Kasi
Right.
dun mo na ano eh, dun mo na napapalabas yung mismong emotion ng isang photo and vid. And may lalabas mo din yung story doon when it comes to editing process kung ano, ayun.
Oo, hindi. Tsaka when it comes to filmmaking and also in photography, napaka malaking bagay ang storytelling. Kumbaga,
Yeah.
visual
Yun.
storytelling nga, di ba? Yung lagi na sinasabi.
Storytelling.
And sa panahon ngayon, hindi na lang, kumbaga, hindi na enough na photographer ka lang. Di ba dati kasi, ang nakasanayan ng mga tao, if you're a photographer, you're only a photographer. If you're a videographer, videographer ka lang. Pero ngayon kasi, iba na yung landscape. So, may tinatawag tayong multimedia creators, lalo na sa YouTube, like what you do. One of the assets, kumbaga one of the assets ng mga content creators should be able to harness itong mga, yung being flexible in any skill that can help them produce a content. Gaano siya ka-importante para sa'yo at bakit?
Sa akin, mas mainam na sa settings ng camera and sa pag-shoot pa lang is nakaset na and maayos na yung pagkakakuha mo. Para sa editing, mas madali mo na lang siya ma-edit and maayos yung isang video na yun or ano, ayun.
Oo nga. Tapos Takara, in terms of kumbaga yun nga photographer ka din, at the same time videographer ka din, tsaka you also do edits, di ba? So gano'n siya ka-importante na nagagawa mo yung tatlo na yun sa panahon ngayon?
Okay. Sa akin, as in, sabihin natin mahirap. Mahirap siya talaga as in, sa pag pinagsasabay mo. Pero kasi binabalance ko lang siya as a filmmaker and photographer. Ayan. Sa photo, medyo madali naman ng konti. Sa lang talaga medyo mahirap kasi ngayon nga, video, mahirap talaga i-edit. It comes, marami siyang proseso.
Right.
With music, sound design, color grading, VFX, ganun. Yun, mga ganun.
And, kumbaga kasi ngayon, yung mga YouTube content creators, di ba? Kung photographer ka rin, malaki advantage yun para sa'yo, di ba? Tsaka, kung kaya mo rin makagawa ng mga graphics and all the other stuff. Punta naman tayo, Takara, dun sa mga photos na sinend mo. Again, for the viewers, don't forget to follow Takara. His Instagram is @TakaraVisual. And his YouTube is, search na lang, Takara Fermanejo on YouTube. And ito, yung first photo mo. Go ahead, please.
Ayan po, ayun. Ano po yan, nalapit lang po yan dun sa dati naming bahay. Dun sa may Hirose, ayun. So, hindi nyo pa alam mo na. So, siya, temple. So, ang ko dito is, marami nga nagsasabi sa mga kaibigan ko na siya, cinematic yung dating. Kasi, yun nga, may dalawang puno na sa gilid and yung subject na sa gitna. Ayun. Then, yung kulay niya is, talaga, more on cinematic yung dating. Ayun.
Noong nagpunta ako ng Japan, very siya kumbaga, makikita mo siya sa karamihan ng mga lugar na pupuntahan mo, yung tipong balance. 'Di ba? Very 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 particular mga Japanese when it comes to balance. Na madali siya makita when you go to Japan. The next one.
Ito naman,
ganda.
Itong kuha ko dito, siya, high shutter speed siya. I mean, mataas na shutter, like 2,000, ganun, 3,000. So, naisipan ko tong creativity na to nung sa Instagram. So, nag-scroll down ako. Sabi ko, wow, parang gusto kong gawin to. And yun nga, pumasok sa isip na yun, gusto kong itry. And yun, nakuha ko din. Then, niyaya ko yung kaklase ko na sabi ko na, tara, shoot tayo sa labas. So, may naisip akong concept. And ito yun, na 2 pen. Nakaano kami dito, siguro 10 shots bago ko nakuha tong ganitong perfect, composition and angles.
Ganda. And then your next photo.
Ito naman, sa Tokyo to, kasama ko sila Kuya Akira, sila Kuya Val. Ayan, shoutout nga pala sa Tokyo Squad, kina Kuya Akira and kina Kuya Jay. Ayan. So, kay Kuya Ivan and kay Kuya Terence. So, yun yung shot namin. So, ano to, pangalawang collaboration namin ng squad dati. Ayun. So, nakishoot-shoot lang din kami. Ayun. Terms of model. Ayun. Sobrang ganda ng concept niya dito. Which is, yung tinatawag nga nila na sikat ngayon, yung techwear. Ayun. Kung napapansin niyo yung techwear ngayon. Ayan. Medyo desaturated lang siya ng konti. And para bumagay dun sa mood ng concept.
Ganda, para siyang may pagkastulin
ayun.
yung photo. Takara, may tanong ako. Kasi 'di ba sa Japan, very sila dyan sa Japan, very, kumbaga, conservative yung mga tao na, 'di ba, bawal kunan, 'di ba? When you're in the street,
bawal.
diba? Baka you can you talk about that kapag nasa Japan.
Pag dito naman kasi, parang mahiyain sila, ganun. So, pwede ka naman kumuha ng, diba, sa stranger, ganun. So, magpapaalam ka lang. Hindi ka basta-basta pwedeng pumitik na lang. Pero kasi mga Pilipino na pitik na patago. Alam mo, may ganong shots. Meron kasi ako napansin na gano'n at ibang tao na may pitik lang ng patago. Para hindi lang mahalata.
Tama. Okay. And I think sa naman kahit naman sa ibang countries din dito sa Asia, dito lang yata sa Philippines kasi pag tinutok mo yung camera, mag-smile agad yung mga Pilipino, di ba? So, eto Takara, punta naman tayo sa mga behind the scenes. Ito yung pen. Go ahead.
Ayan nga po yung yung gaya nga po ng sabi ko kanina, ayan yung behind the scene na kung paano ko siya kinuhaan. Ayan, nilaglag ko yung pen. And sobrang hirap kasi wala kang tagahulog ng pen, ikaw lang mismo. So, sobrang struggle talaga nung nag-shoot ako niyan. Ang hirap kasi unat na unat talaga yung kamay ko niyan. That time. Ayun.
And Takara, lastly, siguro your top 3 tips for choosing the right colors or mood setting para doon sa mga audience na makakita. Siguro pwede rin sa filmmaking mo or sa Lightroom. Yan, go ahead.
So sa akin, first tips sa kulay is maganda na yung may sarili kang dem na kulay. Like, halimbawa sa portrait, doon ka sa portrait, magbe-base, and kung ano bang mood yung gusto mo doon, gusto mo ipalabas. And pangalawa, sa filmmaking naman, hanapin mo yung gusto mong mood na kulay, and yun yung gawin mong base doon sa video mo when it comes to tell the story. Ayan. Then, sa pangatlo naman, pangatlo naman is pangatlo? Ano ba?
Sige lang, go ahead.
Sa pangatlo,
yung hindi nila dapat makalimutan. Yan.
So sa akin kasi, sa Lightroom, ang wag niyong kakalimutan sa bawat halimbawa sa photo na gusto nyong i-edit, like sa mga editing challenge nga ganun. Always gumamit kayo ng brush kung kinakailangan, gradient filter, ganun, para mas ma-enhance natin yung mga dark spots. I mean, madidilim na part ng mukha ng ganun, diba? Sa model, ganun. Para mas lumiwanag yung mukha ng model.
Ayun. And on that note, thank you, Takara, for sharing your insights and your tips. And eto na, let's bring back our guests tonight. Ito, welcome back again kay Ken, kay Maki, tsaka kay Takara. And I believe meron tayong caller with us tonight. Wait lang. Ito na. We have someone calling in from Photo Nation. Hi, Liza. Can you hear us?
Hi. Hello.
Hi,
Good
Liza.
evening.
Ayan. Go ahead, please. I think you want to invite the people watching, and you have a comment dito sa podcast
Yes,
natin. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I don't have a question, but I have a comment. I'm more of a Photoshop user, but after watching this episode, I think I'll give Lightroom a shot.
Wow.
Yeah. And I want to thank all our guests. I learned a lot from them tonight. Your photos and videos are amazing. and what you do is inspiring. And another thing, friends,
Mm.
congratulations, Film Factor Podcast. We're hitting 2,000
Yay!
likes. Yay.
Yun na yung oh, go ahead.
Okay. And we'd like to invite all the viewers and members of Photo Nation to join us for our week-long celebration of Born in Film's second anniversary.
Yeah.
We have a lot of activities and features in store for you, so watch out for that.
Oh, and I think magsa-start ng week-long anniversary for Born in Film this Monday. Tama, Liza?
Yes, that's right.
Oh, yan. And for those who don't know, si Liza is actually one of the 3 ladies who are handling Photo Nation. Ito sila ang tawag namin Tres Marias, di ba? Maybe you
Yes,
can,
that's right.
yan, maybe you can mention also yung mga kasama mo sa admin ng Photo Nation.
Yes, Monique and Pao. Hello.
Shout out sa inyo. And yun, with that, let's bring back our guests. Hold on. Thank you, Liza. Thank you for calling in.
Right. Thank you.
Yan. Guys, meron tayong mga questions na pumasok actually. From Shener Drew Navarro, sabi niya, ano pong pinakamatagal na ini-edit nyo na photos, as in yung pinaka di mo makuha, yung pinaka gusto mo na kaya ka natagalan dito sa pag-i-edit nyo ng photos. Maybe we can hear from Mac muna, and then Mac, Ken, and then Takara. Go ahead, please. Yung parang pinakamatagal nyo raw in-edit kasi medyo hindi mo makuha yung gusto mo.
Okay. Sometimes, usually landscape.
Mm-mm.
Because landscapes kasi it also have depends on the minsan the in Lightroom kasi I have to mention there is also plugins.
Right.
So pwede mong gumamit ng plugin, and then dun sa plugin na yun, example, the plugin that I use most of the time are Color Effects Pro. For if you want for landscapes, kasi this is where I enhance more my landscape photos.
Nick software to, di ba? Color Effects Pro.
Yes, Nick software.
So, go ahead.
Yeah, tumatagal lang because i-import mo doon, tas ibabalik mo ulit sa Lightroom, and then ito-tone down mo ulit yung mga, kung for example, in Nick software, yung Color Effects Pro nga, I usually use the details, yung papalabasin mo yung details. So, pag napalabas mo yung details doon, pagbalik mo sa Lightroom, medyo nagiging grainy siya, so i-tone down ko naman siya. But overall, yung hindi naman masyado talaga mahirap yun sa Lightroom eh. I think nga parang 5-10 minutes, it's done. Pagka lumagpas na doon, I move on already to another photo. Kasi usually naman din, pag pagtitake ko ng picture, example sa isang setting, I take a lot of photos. And then, pipili na lang ako doon kung ano yung maganda na i-edit.
Right. Thanks, Mac, for the answers. Maybe we can go ahead with Ken. Ikaw, Ken, the question is, meron ka ba, ano ba yung, sa ka ba natatagalan? Kunyari, ano yung ginagawa mo kapag hindi mo nakukuha yung gusto mo na shot or na edit?
Same with Sir Mac. Parehas kaming nahihirapan pag sa landscapes. There are times na kailangan meron kang very, very minute attention, very, very intense attention to detail na kailangan mong makita doon. Though, ang nagpapatagal sa akin doon is kung pumapalya yung pag-composite ko sa Lightroom. Which in turn, lilipat ako sa Photoshop. And imamask ko sila. Yun yung nagpapatagal. So, pag dumaan kay Photoshop, mask, flatten, Tapos pagka may nakita akong kailangan kong spot removal, sa spot removal ko pa doon. And then saka ako siya babalik kay Lightroom. And then, yun, basic color edits na lang. A bit of sharpness na lang din. Ayun. And actually, yung plugins, ginagamit ko din yan, yung Nick Collection. Though, minsan ko na lang siya ginagamit pagka kunwari super mabilis ang edit lang. Pagka yung tipong may oras ako at sobrang dami kong kailangan galawin doon, yan, isa sa mga gagalawin ko yan yung collection. Yung color effects lalo na. Yan lang.
Yun. Thanks Ken for the answers. Punta naman tayo kay Takara. Takara, ikaw. Anong ginagawa mo kapag hindi mo makuha yung gusto mo na kulay do sa litrato mo? Or sa video na ginagawa mo?
So sa akin, sa portrait, mas nahirapan ako. Kasi ang ano kasi sa portrait, ang pinakamahirap ma-achieve, lalo na sa mga beginner sa atin, ganun, is yung skin tone nga. Yung skin tone yung pinakamahirap sa akin.
Right.
Yun. So, minsan tumatagal talaga ako, lalo pag yung sa isang diba, yung model mo dun sa isang part ng lugar na mahirap talaga i-enhance yung skin tone niya. So, doon ako nahirapan mag-adjust. Inaabot ako minsan ng 2 hours, ganun. Yun yung limit, 2 hours, pinakamatagal.
Ayun. Thank you daw, sabi ni Shinir. May isa pang question para sa iyo, Takara. Si Patrick Pagahis Punong Bayan. The question po, di ba po ba ang mga Japan phones ay i-require na built-in na naka-on yung shutter sound? Paano naman po pag DSLR?
Sa akin, ano ba?
Kasi di ba parang sa Japan yata required na maririnig kapag nagtumutunog yung phone camera.
May shutter talaga siya eh. Sa DSLR naman, meron din naman kasi shutter sound sa.
So ano talaga siya, no? I mean, part siya ng law, tama ba?
Part siya ng DSLR na meron din talaga.
Ayan. So may isang comment from Brian before we head on to our last question. Sabi niya, for me, I can't achieve the color or the adjustment that I want. Natutulog ako. Then binabalikan ko siya kapag gising ko. So yun yung ginagawa ni Brian. And ito na, we'll head down to our final question. The final question for all of you is, if Lightroom was not developed, do you think your photography will be the same? Tingin nyo ba pareho rin yung photography nyo kapag never or hindi na-develop itong Lightroom? Maybe we can begin with Mac. Go ahead.
Well, for me kasi, yung iba kasi yung nakikita ng camera mo at iba yung nakikita ng mata mo.
Right.
So the camera cannot capture what your eyes can see. That's why kailangan nga ito yung mga post-processing software para lumapit doon sa kung ano yung nakita ng mata mo. So that's why it's very, very essential for me itong mga post-processing software. Example, yung Lightroom, kasi madali lang gamitin. I-slide mo lang.
Right.
And also, yung post-processing din, kagaya nga sabi ni Takara kanina, parang dito mo kasi mapapakita yung mood na kung ano yung gusto mong iparating ng photo mo. So for example, if I wanted to bring out emotion, I usually do it in black and white. Yung photo ko, kino-convert ko in Lightroom. So, ayun, it will never be the same pag wala talaga. Dapat meron.
Oo. Ayan. Let's now hear from Ken. Ken, go ahead. Go ahead, Ken.
Hello.
Go.
Again. I guess my photography would be different. Ayan, answering your question directly. I guess my photography would be different pagka walang post-processing software because like nun sa sinabi ni Sir Mac, iba yung nakikita ng camera sa nakikita mo. And the camera can only do so much. Ayan, ito na yung ano ko doon. The camera can only do so much. Kahit may yan siya nung built-in RAW editor, hindi siya yung perfect na alternative if walang post-processing software. Yun lang.
Ayun. And Takara, go ahead, please.
And sa akin naman, siguro, hindi siguro ako pumunta sa ganitong industry kung walang post-processing. Kasi doon ako mas na-attract sa pag-edit. Kaya nagustuhan ko yung photography and filmmaking. Kaya kung walang post-processing, siguro wala rin ako dito. Ganun.
Ayun. Anything you guys would like to add before we let you go? May gusto pa kayong isabihin for a topic? Are you good? Okay na? Okay, so let's now move on to where they can follow you, your social media accounts. Maybe you can invite them to like your pages or your YouTube channel. If you have one, go ahead, please. Takara, maybe you can start.
Okay, so follow niyo po ako sa Facebook page ko, Takara Films. Ayun din po ako nag-upload ng mga films and storytelling and maybe tutorials yun, ganun. And subscribe niyo na rin po ako sa YouTube channel ko, Takara Fermanejo. And also, follow niyo na rin ako sa Instagram, Takara Films, which is dun ko in-upload lahat ng mga film and mga napupuntahan kong location and mga photo nga yun. And dun naman sa Takara Visual, dun lahat ng mga captured photo ko na ayan.
Thank you. Now, let's head on to Mac. Go ahead, Mac.
Mahihain na kayo, huwag na lang.
Sige na. Para for those who'd like to see more of your photos.
Of course, I have sa Instagram, Maki Omega. Also, meron akong Facebook page na ginawa dati where I usually post my landscape photos, yung Omega shots. Actually, yan yung parang copyright mark ko, yung Omega shots. Yun, but although hindi na ako nagpo-post doon because I usually just post on my Facebook tapos pinapublic ko na lang. So ayun, yun lang.
Thanks, Mac. Ken, ikaw naman, where can they follow you? Where can they see more of your works?
Yes. You can follow me sa aking Instagram at Ken Guevara. And I would also take this opportunity to invite you guys to join Lightroom Creative Club PH. Ito.
Yan. Oo nga. Sumali na ako dyan.
Yung aming Facebook group.
Oo.
Member ka na dito, Sir Franz. I can see you here. This is a Lightroom group. Ito isa sa mga minamanage ko. Aside from helping out sa Photo Nation. It has tips and tricks, tutorials, composition techniques, coloring tips, whatever. Ganda. You can also share your work din done. Also, syempre, hindi natin pwede kalimutan. Ito ang Photo Nation.
Yes.
We are already 9,000 members strong and still growing. Everyone can join here. Super fun. It's a community that feels like home. Sabi nga dito sa video na to. You can share any photos, film, digital, or kung ano man yung
kahit kuha ng webcam. Kahit kuha ng webcam.
Also, it has contests like Digital Monday, Film Friday, and the Theme of the Week. So,
Photographer of the Week. Oh, diba?
Also the Photographer of the Week. Yeah, thank you, Sir Franz.
Thanks, Ken. And again, wait, hindi ko makita si Ken. Anyway, again, we'd like to thank all of our guests for tonight. Ken, if you can turn on your video again. Again, we'd like to thank all our guests for tonight for that wonderful insights. I'm sure and I believe marami natutunan yung ating mga viewers for tonight. And again, we have a week-long celebration for Born in Film's anniversary next week. So stay tuned. Don't forget to hit subscribe on our YouTube channel, and this will also be on Spotify. Just search for Film Factor Podcast. Don't forget to join us next week as we return with Analog Strikes Back. This time, we will talk about analog photography with the Philippines' top brands and personalities. We have Jojo Colina of Sunny 16 Dab, Aislinn Chuayok of Film Folk, Gab Enderald of 35 Studio, Kim Lim of Tiny Print Room, and last but definitely not the least, we have Sir Mindy of Lomography. This has been Born in Film on Air. My name is Franz. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye!
Portraits have always been what's interesting to me.
I'm happy to greet this gathering of motion picture engineers.
Art of photography is sharing. Taking what you see and sharing it with others.
Don't be afraid. Get out there, shoot some film.
I think Photo Nation can be a catalyst